friend. Welcome to Wild and Waking, a sacred space for the woman unraveling what no longer fits, remembering the truth that's always lived inside her, reclaiming her joy, her voice, her power, and rising fully, fiercely, and without apology. I'm your host, Emily Rushell, and together we'll explore what it means to live in alignment, lead with soul, and awaken a life of abundance, authenticity, and purpose. Let's begin. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Wild and Waking. Today, I am joined by Queen of the Universe, as she asked to be called, Bea. We were connected through a mutual friend who has also been on the show. She recently authored the book, End Emotional Outsourcing. I do have to read the whole title. How to Overcome Your Codependent, Perfectionist, and People-Pleasing Habits. She is the host of the Feminist Wellness Podcast. We have already talked for almost a half an hour about functional medicine, tinctures, aliens, the world. I have actually not sure where this conversation is going to go, but it is going to be wonderful. I have absolutely no doubt, and I have no doubt you're going to enjoy it as well. So without further ado, welcome to Wild and Waking.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's going to be a blast. Okay, let's jump in. We're going to start with the book because I'm partway through and literally, I'm listening to it driving down the road going, yes, absolutely yes. I need to ask her about that. We need to talk about that. Like to the point that I don't know if I should just read it and be like, tell me more about every sentence you read.
You could just read the whole book. I can wait.
I could. You also recorded an audiobook. So I'm not going to do that work. Go download it. Go do that thing. It is wonderful. And you read it. And I quite enjoy listening to you.
It was really fun.
Well, it's just like podcasting, but longer.
Yeah, but like it's this, like I'd never like been in a fancy sound studio before. And like it was a really cool, fun experience with like this engineer who had like 400 million screens and it was awesome.
You're so fancy.
Studies do show that I'm fancy. So
fantastic.
You're welcome.
Okay. Tell us about End Emotional Outsourcing and what brought you here today.
Okay, you ready? Emotional outsourcing. I'm going to put on my grown-up voice. Would you like me to define emotional outsourcing?
Well, you coined the term, so yes.
I did, and I feel really proud of myself for that because I was really on the struggle bus for a while with hating the word codependent, living it so hard, but never identifying with it because ew.
I actually quite enjoyed how basically within the first 5 seconds of the book, you're like, oh yeah, everything in the title was just like a catfish. None of it's real.
Gotcha.
So let's start there. What's the term? Where does this all come from?
Okay, great. So emotional outsourcing is when we chronically and habitually source our sense of the 3 vital human needs, safety, belonging, and worth, from everyone and everything outside of ourselves instead of from within at a great cost to self. Mic drop.
Amazing. What does it mean? What does it look like?
Yeah, totally. This is my replacement for the terms codependency, perfectionism, people-pleasing, because I think those terms just frankly kind of suck and they don't mean what do they mean anymore? I'll define them if you insist, but what do they mean in a social context? So codependent habits, because I'm not talking about identities here, right? Codependent habits is managing other people to attempt to feel safe. People-pleasing is attempting to keep others comfortable to avoid rejection, which for small mammals is tantamount to death, right? If you get rejected, you get kicked out of the village, you die cold and alone on a mountaintop. Perfectionist habits is controlling yourself, hiding yourself, tucking your authenticity way, way, way away to attempt to earn love so you won't die cold and alone on a mountaintop. But the way we talk about it, it's I just, really love grammar. I'm a perfectionist. And I just find it really dismissing of really serious impediments to joy and to ease and to self-love and to happy, healthy relationships. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember the exact line, but I remember that from the book of you talking about so we have created these to be new identities to wear, which is it can be really helpful to bring some language. Like I even look back at, my own journey as I was kind of unraveling and starting to understand. Like there were things that made so much sense when I understood them that now I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like 7,000 layers beneath the surface. Right. But the first time, talking about your own journey a little bit, that you heard the phrase codependent and you started like figuring out what it was, you're like, oh, right. And now you know more.
Right. And now I completely eschew the term, forget about it with that term. But yeah, the behavior, I did it all. So tell me the top things I see in my clients when they're like, yeah, emotional outsourcing is me. We feel this profound responsibility for everyone but ourselves. So often, everyone else's emotions. So we cannot relax, we cannot rest, we cannot stop if someone's upset, if someone might have a need, if like not everyone is 100% copacetic. Like if there's a sullen teenager at the table, you're not eating your meal, you're trying to fix their feelings. We apologize constantly, even when we've done nothing wrong and we're not even Canadian. We're just trying to keep the peace. Avoid conflict at all costs, even if it means lying, downplaying our needs, stuffing down our feelings. And we can come back and talk about how talking about progressive politics and wanting to change the world and being conflict averse do not. Nope. We feel wildly resentful, right? That whole like, well, with all I've done for you. And we either obsessively tell everyone about it, right? We're in that sort of martyr posture with the world, or we shove it down and shove it down and shove it down until we have a heart attack, autoimmune conditions, or explode. We are the therapist in every relationship. Everyone. We are the office mom. Oh, this is a favorite. We feel like we're the only person who sees the real potential in someone. You know what I mean? Like he's a real fixer-upper, but I just think
I can fix him. No, really, I can.
I really can though. Okay. Wait, are you mad at me that I said that? We do that too, right? We project our fears and our insecurities onto everyone until, and I'll just brass tacks it here, we become really annoying to be around. We become very challenging to be around because we have this insecurity or this worry and we project it onto other people with the intensity of someone who fears for their survival. I could keep going probably for hours about what it looks like, but I think that sort of gets the gestalt, right?
Yeah. And I think something that has been a piece that helped me understand this is trying to figure out like, where does this come from? Because it's not one thing, right? It's like a series of micro experiences over a lifetime. So I would love to kind of talk about that if you feel like it is relevant. And then also, okay, so we have this awareness. How do we start undoing it? Because it's not hey, give us the checklist. What's the quick fix?
Right.
It's an evolutionary process, but I would love for you to dive into some of the things that you have seen and that you teach on.
And I think understanding where it comes from can help us to see how to start to step out of it. So what you will notice in my work and my book, in my courses, in my podcast, in my everything is my focus is not on other people and their substance use, their dysfunction. It's not about them. It's really about bringing our focus in our lives squarely back onto ourselves. So if you think I'm about to be like, well, if your partner or parents uses no, not interested. I'm not interested in that framework. And I know it helps other people. So yay for them. For me, I want to focus on how we didn't feel loved, didn't feel safe, didn't feel care. It's really important here to pause and to say, children can be raised in deeply loving families and still walk away with some of these habits. My work is not to beat parents up, not to throw them under the bus, not to say, oh, these are the 400 ways you effed up, but to say that these behaviors live within us as the grown-ups and we unwittingly model them for our kids.
Yeah. Well, I know that's a massive fear for so many women in this community who are actively doing the work, right? Who are doing the healing, who are trying to understand, who are doing the growth, doing the, all of that, like building relationship with themselves. Like a constant underlying anxiety is like, am I fucking up my kids?
You are, and that's okay. So here's the thing. We've been working on this in Anchored, which is my big coaching program. a woman came into coaching a couple weeks ago and said, I have this deep fear that I'm broken and it drives everything in my life. And I said, what if you believed that that is true? And what if you believed that being broken is the thing that led you to your next growth? And the next break is the next growth, and the next break is the next growth, and the next break is the next growth. And you get to be each iterative best part of you, favoritist part of you, because of each ouchie and each break. Like Leonard Cohen taught us that it's where the light gets in, right? The crack is where the light gets in. And so I think we can back up and say, like, of course you're messing your kids up. Are you repairing is the question that really matters, right? Are you saying to them, wait, hold on. Okay, so this happened in coaching 1/2 hour ago. I was asking someone in the collective, we were doing a group exercise, and I wanted her to unmute herself, but I was also clicking and like leading the Zoom and doing things. And so I said, hey, do you want to unmute yourself and start to tell us, oh, wait, sorry, I just heard myself using the framing my dad would use when I was a kid, where I'm not actually asking you, I'm asking if you want to, but I'm also telling you you must. And that's not a respectful or honoring or loving way to relate to another person. I'd like to be more direct. Can I please have a redo? And she was like, yeah, I didn't hear nothing, but okay.
Yeah.
Right. And then I said, would you please unmute and start? I was direct. But that's the work, is to get present to what's real in your life and how you're showing up, and to be intentional and not running from the default that your broken parents, loving or not, modeled for you because it was modeled for them and it was modeled for them. And I think that's what really creates a generation that can step out of emotional outsourcing and into interdependence, is believing that the people in my life will fuck up because they're humans, but they will repair, and that I can count on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just telling my kids last night, I'm like, this is the first time I've been a mom, guys.
Yeah.
I'm also figuring this out. And so we have a lot of conversations around what that looks like. And I think for them to also wrap their heads around the humanity and to be able to have the conversations, like, I know that is at least playing the puzzle and, and helping as we move forward. Anyway, we got off on a side tangent.
But I think it's a really important side tangent. I think it's really important, and I think it's not talked about enough in the way you and I are talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a conversation that's come up in my community a lot is I'm like, okay, yes, we are very imperfect. We are messing things up. We are there is actually no element of perfection for your kids to not walk away with something, right? That's just part of the human experience. But how are you modeling for them to build the relationship with yourself, to be able to move through that, or to not carry everything as heavily? Maybe it's these habits that we're talking about, or, my 2 big kids have been working with a behavioral play therapist since they were in pre-K. And they have the self-awareness to know, like, I'm really struggling with this. When's the next time I have an appointment? I would like to bring that up. And I'm like, I actually cannot imagine being in 3rd grade to be able to name the way I was struggling, even if I didn't quite have the language for it, but to be able to say, like, I know that there's someone who can help me, and like, I can have a conversation with my parent about it. Like,
oh my God.
I would never. I would never.
There is not there's nowhere in a boomer hellscape of emotional, you know what I mean? God, no.
Yeah. And so I think we don't give ourselves enough credit of like really how much just the way that we're even having these conversations and exploring and listening to books like yours and, rebuilding the relationship with ourselves, like how much that is really giving our kids the opportunity to move through the world and through everything that they're carrying with such a different energy attached to it.
It gives me hope for the planet,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, as a collective, I love Gen Z because they just don't live by the same rules that we grew up feeling like we had to.
Right?
Like, they're like, work, burn myself out for what? Like, that didn't work for you guys.
Still not working.
Still not working. No, I love it. So, okay. Anyway, back to emotional outsourcing, where it comes from, how we build awareness around it, how we move through it.
Right. It comes from the boomers. No, just kidding. But they're part and parcel of it too. My in-laws are the silent generation. It wasn't much easier for them.
No.
Right. And their parents were in the coal mines. So like, so it comes from what's modeled for us generally in our family of origin, but also in our extended family, also in our society, also in the collective, in the society, culture, religion, community that we are in the micro and macro levels, right? And so it is also part and parcel of being a human living under the patriarchy, white settler colonialism, and late stage capitalism, because those systems demand that we fall lockstep, right? Especially for us, right? Maybe not Gen Z, but we fall lockstep into everything they've told us to do, right? Every way they've told us to be. And even when you live a life that is working to be not in coherence with those systems are part and parcel of how you think about yourself in the world, right? And emotional outsourcing is all about how you relate to the story of yourself. Like, is your capital S self acceptable? Is your authentic self too loud, too quiet, too fat, too thin, too bossy, too nosy, too what? What is it about you that the system doesn't like? Or is overwhelming to your parents given their neurodivergence that got zero care or attention?
Isn't it so unfair that neurodivergent parents have to raise neurodivergent kids?
It's pretty rude. It's pretty rude. My dad, not to brag, but I am a person with ADHD. Okay, I'm bragging. My dad is completely neurotypical, but he does have lots of special interests, such as every ship that was in World War II, etc.
Oh, yeah. Like, once you start trying to understand your kids, you can trace the lines back.
Oh, yeah. Pretty quick, though.
Pretty quickly.
So,
It was actually my brother, when one of my kids was quite younger, he was like, my brother was like, Emily, do you not see this here? I'm like, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We've got that magic in us, huh?
It is magic. It is magic. We're reclaiming it.
I'm all day calling us neuromagical.
Right? I love it.
But it also comes from that. So if you grew up in a time before being neuromagical was even remotely considered neuromagical, right, I was called a spaz. Named. Right, much less named. Everyone thought I was such a spaz. And to be honest, I was. But I was because I had no outlets for my anything, because we weren't girls in the 80s and 90s getting diagnosed. Functional girls getting straight A's in the gifted and talented program, getting diagnosed with ADHD. Get out of town. Right? And so where does emotional outsourcing? It comes from trying to fit in. Right? It's part of the masking. It's part of the trying to make ourselves acceptable in a world that doesn't have space for us for any number of reasons.
I love that you bring this up. And I actually saw a post this morning about this, about how the really next conversation we need to have in healing is not centered on the individuals, but looking outward at, it's so easy, put that in quotes, to get wrapped up into this world of personal growth and development. Like, I'm a problem to fix. I need to fix. How did I get so messed up? Like, what do I need to do? How do I need to heal? And I do believe that the biggest impact we can have on the world is healing the relationship with ourselves. But if we are just looking at the individuals of being like, here's what's wrong with you, here's what you need to fix, here's where you need to grow, without naming these greater systems at play, which is really where my work has transitioned recently, is how do we get here in the first place? And then what are we going to do about it?
Right.
On a systemic level.
Right. Because then it just becomes more narcissism and belly gazing, staring at your own belly button, just wondering about you. It becomes kind of gross, and it becomes more of a practice it feels very white feminist.
Yeah.
Just to put a finer point on that, you know? But yeah, emotional outsourcing, it does not live solely in individual nervous system. It's institutions, culture, politics. It's in all the choices we make. And it's so when we collectively learn to source safety and worth from external validation, so from productivity, hustle culture, from growth, from someone else's approval, then the systems we build around ourselves and one another reflect that, right? And so, of course, we get economies that are based on extraction, relationships built on like performing, like I'm being a really good friend, I'm being a really good wife, right? And we get a political system that's driven by fear. And through that, people in power who are so dysregulated that they make decisions from panic, scarcity, and greed rather than wisdom and care. And then when we work to heal the emotional outsourcing in ourselves, we stop being so easily manipulated by marketing, by demagogues, by like anyone who promises to make us feel okay if we just do what they say. A person who is like deeply rooted in themselves, in their capital S self, is so much harder to exploit. That is real political resistance beyond personal liberation. And so a community of people who know how to self-resource and who aren't desperate for external validation, like they don't need that attaboy from the system, those are people who can stay grounded under pressure. And therefore, that builds the foundation of collective care. And that's what solidarity actually looks like in the body.
Yes. Keep going.
Yeah, that's the work we need to do, understanding, like you said, that it has to start with ourselves because it has to start in the minutia.
So really, like a point that I got to in my work was I had been coaching women who are brilliant with beautiful visions, wanting to make the world a better place, just wanting to bring such beautiful things to fruition for themselves, for their families, for their communities, for these needs that they were seeing, but were constantly drowning in perfectionism, imposter syndrome, lack of all these words that we attach to, oh, if I could just feel confident, if I didn't care what other people thought, then I could get past this, right? And I just kept being like, why is every single woman that I know grappling with this? And so that's, it kind of came down to this factor of like a lack of knowing ourselves, loving ourselves, and trusting ourselves. And like, not just what are your strengths, like, here's what I'm good at, here's what I, do for other people and bring to the world, but like, can you really understand and befriend like the depths and, move through that and heal on not just I checked all the boxes kind of level and rebuild that relationship with self and then let that move outward. So I would love to, talk about more of like how this work of ending emotional outsourcing rebuilds that relationship with self.
For sure. I think it needs to start with this conversation and with letting go of the individual blame. The codependency corner of the self-help world is deeply steeped in shame, right? There's some legacies where the framework is character defects, labeling ourselves as sick and suffering, or labeling ourselves as a codependent person. And that comes from the disease model, which I think you like the political stuff, so we can go there. Do you know that our modern conceptualization, I mentioned it in the book, but most of this got cut, that it comes from the thick, like deep, deep, deep in the thick of the war on drugs? Right? So it comes from that same punitive crime and punishment approach that dominated that time, Reagan, right? Thatcher. And so there was a deep drive that to push us away from looking at systems and structures and instead to focus on individual pathology. So don't look at the conditions that created these patterns, label people trying to survive within them as sick, a sick alcoholic, or an enabling wife of the alcoholic. That was the 70s, 80s framework.
Oh, my background is in elementary education, and that runs rampant in education too.
Sure does. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Right. It's this huge moralizing lens. And so when you're asking, how do we come back to loving ourselves, which seems like the end, right, of all that work, we need to start with the fact that the way we've been taught to think about ourselves and these sets of habits is really mean.
Yeah.
It's really fucking mean. It is meanie pants to the extreme. So we need to sort of divorce ourselves and break up with those stories. And in my framework, stop calling ourselves a codependent person. Stop using it as like a joke or an excuse. Ugh,
Or a people pleaser.
just a perfectionist. I'm just a people pleaser. And instead, like, recognize that these are brilliant, amazing survival skills that truly should be applauded. Like, how amazing is it for an 8-year-old to know that from a parent's footfalls, like the sound of their feet, they're in the kind of bad mood that means somebody's going to get critiqued, something not great feeling is going to happen. And so, okay, where's my spelling test that I got an A+ on? Let me go take that and run out and meet that parent before they can even come in here with grumpiness. Let me meet them in the driveway. Hey, I got an A+. And so we're performing self from this tiny age as an act of emotional, physical, energetic, whatever survival.
Safe. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How freaking dope is that? That's amazing, right? It's the opposite of your kids being like, I'm in process with this and I look forward to meeting with my professional to support me through this emotional state, which, by the way, is like some of the most amazing news I've heard in a long time. And I'm so happy for them.
I mean, don't worry. It's also a crisis here, but we at least have the awareness around it, okay?
Outstanding. Right? But like, either way, how brilliant. And so when we can stop being like, I'm the worst, we can see how we're the best. And let me ask you, do you love taking care of a creature that treats you terribly? Or do you like taking care of a creature that recognizes your brilliance more?
Well, the latter.
Well, obvi, but and so we need to become the creature that's kind to us. We need to become the creature that's nice to us as like first level work. And so we do that by recognizing that one of the core things that emotional outsourcing creates and then strengthens is really not having a self and not having an individuated self. So we cannot think our way out of emotional outsourcing. But people are trying.
You sure? Are you sure?
I mean, I can check the book and get back to you. Would you like me to get back to you? I'll check my sources.
The first time my therapist asked me how something felt, I wanted to actually crawl in a hole.
Right. And then punch her in the thyroid.
Yeah. I was like, let me tell you more about how I intellectually understand all of these things. And she was like, that's great. You're smart. Gold star. How do you feel? And I was like, excuse me. What do you mean?
I'll be leaving now, ma'am. I'll be, your copay's in the mail.
I don't know how to get an A+ in therapy anymore. Please.
Is that so rude?
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
We've come a long way since then, okay?
Oh, I'm sure.
Tell us more. Sure. We can't intellect, we can't mindset our way through this.
Right. It's tempting
Unfortunately.
to, though. Such a freaking bummer. So these habits are stored in implicit memory, right? So that's the body's survival wiring, procedural memory, amygdala, hippocampus, cascades of stress hormones. And so we have to work with the body. And that's what somatics or body-based practices do, because we have to rewire the patterns that exist that control our lives before our brain can kick in. So, for example, you're like, honey, what do you want for dinner tonight? I'd like to get sushi. And he's like, oh, well, I really wanted to get burgers. I think maybe we could go out for burgers. And then you're like, okay, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't want sushi. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. And that habit of appeasing, of fawning, of taking care of someone else in lieu of yourself it's not in the thinkies. It's in the doings, right? Because it's whoosh. So part of that is because we've spent a whole life orienting towards others, right? And so that's what we need to reclaim, is that role confusion. I am the person who must acquiesce. And we have to feel ourselves as a separate person in order to do that. And the ways we do that sound so dumb. Like, they sound like, really, you've been studying this for 20 years and you're going to give me this simple a homework?
Like, how many degrees do you have?
Excuse me, ma'am. Your book has 380 footnotes. Did you read them? Because this is a little too simple. Okay, it's simple. Can you keep it up for 2 weeks? Is it really that easy? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it feels important to me to say, like, yeah, it does sound simple. So how do we feel ourselves as a separate person? By feeling ourselves as a separate person. So the homework is this. It's to send reminders on your phone. Don't rely on your memory. Who even is she? I mean, who, especially for you, but for the rest of us as well. Set a reminder on your phone 3 times a day. Pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And then scan your body. Where is there tension? Where is there ease? What sensations are present? Now, the work of this work, it's all about noticing ourselves and noticing ourselves without judgment.
Yeah, from neutrality. Mm-hmm.
From neutrality, right? And so when you scan yourself and you ask what you're feeling, and this very loud protective part of you goes, I don't know. And then you ask your body what sensations it's feeling, and it goes, no data for you. No, I shan't be giving you any data. When the answer is, I don't know, times 2, great. Frickin' awesome. The purpose of this is to notice. It's not to get some answer. You're not writing it on a Scantron. Like nobody cares. There's no answer here, right? The goal is for your internal reference point to be stronger and stronger and stronger, which helps you remember that you are and can be the center of your own friggin' universe. And you can take care of others with love and care from your core, from intentionality, from wants to, from desires, not from default and obligation. And, well, it's just the way it's always been done. But rather from like, no, I really do want to go help my elderly mother at the thing tonight. That actually sounds really lovely. Not, here I go martyring again, right? Whether it's your elderly mother or your little kid or your partner or your whatever. You eventually, the more you know, what am I feeling? What's the sensation? That's what matters for literally 4 seconds, 3 times a day. It starts to expand until it's your framework for living. It's the glasses you see the whole world through,
Yeah. So 2 words/phrases that I feel like are gaining a lot of conversation is that nervous system regulation and somatics.
Yes.
And there's, a lot of different ideas on what that means, what to do with it. I would love your take on how to, like, in what roles do the nervous system do somatics? Does any of this all play into ending emotional outsourcing and rebuilding that relationship?
It's the core of it because it's all written into the nervous system. And when we are dysregulated, when we are activated, it is harder and harder the more activated we get to tap into choicefulness because we're not in a choiceful state. If you think a lion is chasing you, are you going to stop to set a boundary? Right? Like if you think someone's breaking into your house in the middle of the night, are you going to stop and write him a careful, thoughtful letter about your limits?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, please, I hope not in both situations, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, right, like if you're in an interpersonal conversation, someone's yelling at you and you're able to stay regulated, that's when you're able to say, I need you to lower your voice. I will not be yelled at. If you continue to yell at me, I'll be leaving the room. And you're able to state what you actually want and need and what's acceptable for you and what's not. And so nervous system regulation, less as a practice and more as a praxis, praxis, more of a way of living is always my goal, right? And somatic, same thing, like less as, now I will do my somatics.
Right.
And
right.
more of like an embodied way of moving through the world. Right. So like if we go back to that example of what happened in coaching today, where I asked a question but didn't ask, I did that weird verbal thing. It's like backwards communication. I didn't know it was wrong because my brain heard it. My body felt like a glunk feeling in my tummy. That was like, hold up. And I felt like sort of pulled up, like my face was pulled up energetically. My body was like, you did something that's not in alignment. You did something that doesn't feel right to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a scoldy way or a shamey way or blamey way, but in a like, yo, make that right. You have the skills and tools.
Yeah.
And then because I didn't go to shame, I was able to simply say, oh, hey, I don't like the way I said that. Can I have a do-over, please? Right? And that's the end goal of nervous system regulation and somatic practice, is I didn't get activated by shame. I didn't get shut down by shame. I didn't go into guilt or blame. I didn't make it about her. Like, there's a lot of options in that moment, and none of which are skillful or choiceful.
Well, and I'm even thinking after the fact, being like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I should have done something different. And like, that quintessential I'm spiraling out at 3 a.m. over what I did or didn't do. I haven't really thought about that because it is so true. Like the deeper I've been diving into this work, I just don't spiral out and think about a lot of the things I used to. And I think sometimes when we're on a journey, it can feel like, am I even making any progress? What am I doing here? Right? And then you have these moments of realization of like, oh wow, I'm really just moving through the world in a different way. And it's not flashy but it's there. And it's like outside, maybe nothing has even changed, but like the reality that you exist in your brain and in your body and how it feels to move through the day are just different.
Yep. They are more easeful. They are softer. They are more comfortable. Like I am more comfortable speaking my mind. I am more comfortable in like light conflict. Because I've always been comfortable in huge conflict. Very New Yorker of me. I'll scream at somebody on the subway. Right? But like in the light interpersonal conflict. Oh, hey, do you mind moving your bag? Or like on a plane the other day, like, sir, your leg keeps touching mine and I'm really not into it. Please stay in your own space.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what? I said that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was me. Oh. But it's just easeful because you're stepping into being that version of you. And I know you say this all the time, but I want to be one more voice saying it here. Being regulated does not mean being calm.
Yes.
It does not. That is another tool of oppression. 100%. Right? The acceptability politics, politeness politics, forget about it. Get out of here. I could be yelling at somebody while being profoundly regulated. Also, if there's danger, ma'am, get out of the street, like grounded, regulated, solid, ready to run in. If she gets hit by that car, ready to go medically attend to her.
Mm-hmm. A conversation that's been coming up a lot for a lot of women in this community who are kind of in this place that we're talking about is like this rage that's bubbling up. Now that they have the safety within their bodies to feel and to experience, now that they've done so much healing, they're not acting from a place of survival mode. Now they're like, why do I just want to scream?
Yeah, because you haven't screamed in 30, 40, 50, 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's normal and natural and human. I talk a lot about sacred anger versus aggression.
Yeah, I call it sacred rage, but yes.
Great. Same. Exactly. And it's a really beautiful, important thing. How do we let it out? It is not through catharsis. So let's go to a smash room and break a bunch of light bulbs. Okay, sure. Like let's hit a pillow with a bat. If you must. But don't call it transformational. Here's what happens. Okay. We tell this story. If I'm angry, then I must want to do violence. Whose story is that? That's not my story. That's not the story in my matriarchy. Because like if there's anger in my marriage, it means we have a really calm, loving conversation, usually while hugging. Because I don't want to do violence in my marriage. I want more love. And my anger is always pointed towards more love. Let's name bell hooks. And so that story that you have to rage it out, get curious. Is that your story or is that another system's story? 1. 2, your nervous system knows what it needs to move through a feeling. The story that release is what's needed is another story from the patriarchy. The anger in your body might want presence. It might want comfort. It might want love. It doesn't need whoosh, release. Necessarily, it might. But what happens is that we approach somatics with the same framing. We approach productivity, right? And a ClickUp board and LinkedIn and like doing a thing.
Yeah.
When instead what we need is to hold space for other feelings, be present with them, and let them tell us how they want to move. And let them move how they need to move. And sure, maybe you punch a pillow or push on the wall or slam your feet on the ground or stomp, but maybe you actually cry. Maybe you just lie in a field for 20 minutes and connect with the earth. I mean, there's a million iterations. But assuming that violence is the answer,
Yeah. I love that you bring that up. Like, what is it asking for? And I think even another thing that comes to mind is like where is it coming from in so many ways, right? Because I think sometimes anger is like the result that we see when there's so much else happening that we're experiencing.
Yeah. And so what does that need? Right? That's when like maybe what's under the anger is a 6-year-old version of you who wasn't seen, who needs to be seen. And maybe what she really wants is for you to push her on the swings.
Yeah.
Why do you assume that you need to hit something?
Yeah. I feel like we could talk for absolutely forever. But just because we have talked a lot about healing in the collective and community care and things like that, in doing this work, I can only assume that it's rooted in a greater purpose and like a vision that you see.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you?
I mean, it really does look like matriarchy, right? Where all of us know that we are inherently, where this story of original sin is gone, where we don't think that we're born broken, fucked up sinners. What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
We know about basic goodness, right? The central Buddhist tenet that we are all basically good. We are good, whole creatures, right? And that when we relate to one another interdependently, where our interdependence is two autonomous creatures who treat each other with mutuality and reciprocity, then from there, consent is a given. Consent is the bedrock. Kindness, bedrock. Love, bedrock. Honesty, direct communication, right? This is the world I envision. And we just each get to do our best to build it in our interpersonal relationships and build it in our families and be really kind to grocery store clerks and tip delivery drivers really heavily and be really thoughtful about who we give our money to and how they're voting. And we stop using AI. I'm going to say that directly because Memphis doesn't have clean water or clean air. Oh, was that a predominantly Black town? Oh, don't know how I missed that. We note, right? Where we are sturdy enough in our sense of self and we know our values such that we can make choices from those values. And we can ask, does this align with my values? And we spend our money and use our voice in ways that are towards the greater good and towards collective justice.
Yeah. Yes.
Casual.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
And I know that someone listening is like, that feels so far away.
It is until it isn't, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can let that so far away paralyze us, or we can start tipping heavy now. Right? But we can be thoughtful, like, where do I want to spend my money? Who do I want to vote for? Where do I want to volunteer? What are the values I want to instill in my children? What are the small things I can do every day to be a part of the greater good? And it can be really small. Just don't stop there.
It all adds up.
It does.
Yeah, because I think there can be this feeling of like, oh, well, I don't have a podcast. I don't want to create content about this on social media. Where do I begin? How do I lead towards what I believe is possible? And I love that you're bringing up these like very tangible things. It's conversations.
It's conversations. It's the conversations, and it's small actions. And it's also playing it out. Like, what are your true values in life? And I think in the US, it does, for better and worse, come down to consumerism, right? Like Target, right? They are eating it right now because they made really bad decisions around DEI. Starbucks, similar. So who's next? How's about Walmart? Can we all stop? How's about Amazon? Can we stop? Like, where are you giving your money? And what are you voting for? Because they're all votes. And the votes add up. So like before we started, I was recommending a supplement, right, from a brand called Taproot Medicine. I have no financial connection to this organization, but I have looked them up. And it's woman-run, woman-owned. They do cool political work. They can have my money. So just getting really curious. What am I voting for without realizing I'm at a ballot box?
Well, to bring it into something really tangible, I think about when I first entered into the world of personal growth and development, 2019 or so, the book Atomic Habits, which we could go on a whole different direction on. But I remember every action you take is a vote for or against the person that you want to be. And that's always stuck with me in that, it's the way that you stack these little tiny things that you do, things that you say, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you are in a totally different place. And I think that can be applied to so many different circumstances. So often we look at these things that we desire or that we want to create or that we want to change or whatever it may look like as mountains to climb. And they feel far away or they feel so monumental that it's just like, what if I just put my head over the covers and didn't? But with anything you want to bring to fruition, it's like one little tiny domino step at a time. And then all of a sudden, like the whole gymnasium of dominoes at like the world championship has been knocked over.
Yep, exactly. I love how rich that visual is. And I can also hear it going like, clink, 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 clink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever ended up on like that side of social media and you're like, literally who set those up? And what if you knock them over in the process, right? But it's so true. It doesn't matter if you stack up 3 dominoes or 300 or 3 million, the same thing's happening. You push one down and it does the next and the next and the next and the next and the next. And, you do that enough times and she does that enough times and we do that enough times and we wake up in a totally different reality at some point.
Yeah. Like what if instead of ordering my book on Amazon, you called your local family-owned bookstore? I'm not even telling you to leave the house and see if they have it. If not, can they order it for you? Like like every penny that doesn't go into Bezos's pocket and stays in your local economy is $1 that helps the planet. It's those little things that are freaking huge. And it's regulating your nervous system because when you freak out at the server who's making nothing 99 an hour, then she yells at the cook who's not only making nothing 99 but is scared that ICE is going to be there. And then who does he yell at? It ripples in all directions. So just remembering to breathe, get present, and values-based living. I guess that's what it's coming down to, right?
Is that your next book?
Listen, I'll write another book if you have another kid.
No, my husband got the call from his doctor who performed his surgery yesterday. And he said, yep, you're all good. And
Awesome.
I said, are you sure? And he was like, yes, the doctor himself called me. I'm like, but is he sure? He was like, yes. My husband was like, do you have a money back guarantee? And he said, I have 100% success rate. And I was like, but is he really sure?
Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, I think that should be the gold standard.
I mean, it would not be good for anyone in our house for me to go through what I did last year again. So it is. Yeah, we're here.
We're here.
And look at how cute she is.
Look at how cute your baby is. What a teddy bear she is.
Yeah, she's real special.
She's a real cutie pie.
Thanks. Okay, question I ask every guest before we close up. What does growth look like for you in this season?
Part of why my response around the book was, I'll write another book if you have another baby, is because publishing a book in this modern day and age is not fun. It's pretty soul-crushing, the process of publishing, not writing.
Don't tell me that. I'm about to start writing my book.
Okay.
No, it's just...
I won't tell you.
No, it's okay. You tell me. Tell me.
Writing the book is amazing. I would write 100 more books. It's the publishing, marketing, all that. That's it.
Self-publish and bless and release.
Well, then that's different. I went with a major publishing house and it was a lot.
I've signed on with like a hybrid where you get like all of the benefits of being an independently published author with people to help you.
Wow.
And I'm so excited about it.
Okay, well, tell me more later. But
I will.
Where I was going was I'm getting really curious about ambition. And the phrase that keeps coming up for me is, what does it mean to break up with ambition?
Ooh, love that.
Because we've been going steady since a long time. Since the Gifted and Talented program. What does it mean to break up with that one?
I love that. That's a conversation that's been coming up a lot is like, you know, so many of the women in this community have done such deep healing work, myself included. When I deconditioned this like approval addiction, achievement, accolades addiction, then it was like a pendulum swing to like total apathy, right? And so, you know, what does it look like to be a purpose-driven person who has so much on your heart to share and to create and to bring to fruition in the intentional absence of the anxiety that comes with achievement addiction in our modern society? It's like, well, how, you know, where's the space in between where I still feel like I'm doing really meaningful things that matters in a way that like fuels my spirit, knowing that I'm not drowning in hustle culture anymore. I'm more aligned with my cycle and the cycles of life than ever. Like I'm moving through the world. And also I have this like internal drive to do. And is that real? Is that something else? Is that within me? Is that capitalism? Like where is all of this? So you write that book and I will read it first.
Okay, great. That sounds like a good plan.
Because that is a conversation that is coming up a lot. Okay. Tell us more about obviously your book, where we can find you, how we can connect with you, what you have on the, you know, ethers right now to support us.
Yeah, right on. So the book, again, is called End Emotional Outsourcing, How to Overcome Your Codependent, Perfectionist, and People-Pleasing Habits. You can get it wherever books are sold. And there's more info at my website, beatrizalbina.com/book. My podcast is called Feminist Wellness. It's free wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on the gram. I give good gram at my whole name. It was too long of a handle, but here we are. It's published in the book. So
it's yours. So
listen, it's a lot to type, but it's all right. Beatriz Victoria Albina NP. And those are all the places. Come find me. Let's hang out. Let's talk. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Like
what a delight.
I feel like we could have a part 1000 of this episode. So thank you.
Amazing.
I
look forward to it. All right.
Hey friend, I hope this conversation sparked something real in you. Something that feels like truth, curiosity, or the courage to keep becoming. If this episode resonated, I'd love for you to share it. Take a screenshot, post it to your stories, or send it to one of your friends. You can always find me over on Instagram at Emily Rushel, where I love continuing these conversations and hearing your takeaways. Truly, your DMs are one of my favorite parts of podcasting, so don't be shy. I'd love to reflect and connect with you over there. I'm so grateful to be surrounded by a community of women who ask hard questions, sit in the discomfort of the unknown, blaze new paths forward, and ultimately come home to their wild and waking selves. See you next week.